in the fortunate position for the last 4 or so years I've been working from home anyway, so I have everything set up. I have all my samples here, all the technology, everything's just ready for me to go. The only difference is that the family's around, but we can't help that. Clients have adapted well to using the new technology, along with phones and other software to communicate and understand briefs. And I think the transition has been relatively smooth, and I've been really impressed by the way the clients have changed their working habits and expectations. Well, I found it's been a moment to breathe, slow down, work out what's really important, and most importantly, prioritise the working day and filter out what's unnecessary. I think the main challenges from a work perspective have been related to site works and not being able to visit existing sites and new sites, and obviously site works being stalled, because nothing actually beats seeing a space in person. And I find the lack of human interaction as a designer can be tricky, because designs are not only visual but they're also tactile. And obviously working at home, it's really important to have an ergonomic workspace wherever you're working. There have been a number of reported backaches. So after lockdown, I think short term there'll be a move away from shared desking, meeting spaces, toilets and lunchrooms. Cleaning throughout the day will be a priority. Long term, I believe there will be a shift in opinions on rigid working hours, office and desk ownership, working from home or task working. And I think working from home has also been a lesson in what is actually required to be able to complete your job. For example, there might be a reduction in the amount of storage required and greater importance on IT, mobility and comfort. Well, I think the immediate concern is the common use of high density desking in workplaces and how to manage social distancing considering this. There will also be a need to consider how you commute into the office and dispersing peak times, allowing for people who want to cycle in to avoid public transport. Buildings with lift access will need to address how people enter and exit and move between floors. How to think how lobbies may operate to keep up with social distancing. Obviously there's the cleaning of shared toilets and possible touch-free door systems installed, maybe full height cubicles in the toilets. Air conditioning is another thing that is going to have to be considered, along with natural ventilation, and how these can be incorporated and reviewed into stopping spread of airborne bacteria and diseases in long term. And if required, some offices are still going to have clients coming in and out, so just managing how these client and customers get into common areas safely. And there's probably going to be a long-term reduction in face-to-face meetings, and therefore we'll need a bit more consideration for quiet areas, for phone calls and VC meetings. And I believe long-term there may be a move away from this increased use of high-density desking. I think the biggest one will be there'll be a greater trust between employer and employee, and a bond that's been created by that, because they're now aware that people are able to work away from the office and they can be trusted. I think there'll be an increased use of agile and task-based working, whereas previously attempts to implement this have been met with a bit of resistance. And I think because the social aspect of work has been missed by people so much, that this will become really important in the workplace, along with a sympathetic understanding of why home working is necessary and possible at times. And some of the positive aspects of working from home could be continued going forward, such as a greater work-life balance, increased productivity, improve communications skills, and people have more empathy. The other thing that I think is really important is people are more aware of the environmental impact our day-to-day life has, and this will be considered going forward in our work life. I think the changes are going to happen organically over a period of time. I think the initial back to work strategies, which are already being put into place by the majority of my clients, will manage social distancing within the workplace. And I have a feeling that only about a third to a half of staff will initially be able to go back to work, considering the distancing that's required. And I think this will gradually increase over time, and everyone will gradually get back to work, and all the changes I've talked about previously will start to be implemented.